about our reading slump.
We made you some promises.
And, oopsie.
We said we were going to read Foxglove by Adeline Grace, but
Things happened.
And instead we're going to read Thorn by Intisar Kahani. Nani? I can't say the last name.
That's fair. So we're going to read Thorn, and we'll see you next week.
Hi, readers. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Katie.
And welcome to Not Another Heroine, the podcast where we break down the best and worst fictional heroines, those swashbuckling ladies who have to work a little harder than expected for their happy ending.
Want to see what's next on our TBR list? Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Instagram for a sneak peek at upcoming content or to help us pick our next book.
This is the pick of the week.
Oh my god. You went from stage fright to absolute American Idol showdown.
I just opened my mouth and whatever comes out, comes out.
That made my morning. I was not expecting I'm gonna lose my mind. Okay.
Everything's fine.
It's the pick of the week.
Yeah, it is. That it is.
But I'm excited for this pick of the week because this is one that we have both read, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But this is your pick. You finished it when?
Time is not real. A couple days ago. My partner's reading it, though.
What?
Yeah, and he's already halfway through it. So
wow,
that's a pretty solid recommendation there.
I feel like this is a very like general audience friendly book.
Yeah.
It doesn't stray too far into any super deep tropes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially if you want like a spooky read or your partner is someone that likes fiction or like thrillers. Mm-hmm. This is a good like, hey, fantasy romance maybe?
A little bit.
But make it spooky.
What's the name of this one?
So this is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. Gillig?
Yeah. We can go with that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And kind of the premise is we follow this girl. I could not tell you her name.
We can never remember the name.
The heroine. You know.
You just gotta know it's the heroine. There is a heroine in this.
Yeah. So she touched a enchanted card basically when she was young, and now she has a monster living in her head. And it's kind of set in this fantasy world, kind of dark and spooky, perfect for like Halloween, you know, flannel season. But basically there's all of these cards that give you special magic powers when you use them, but they always come with a cost. So if you use them too much, you know, you experience like pain or you become, you know, removed from your emotions, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's basically magic is also outlawed though, sort of, kind of. Like you can use the cards, but anything more than that, and it's like, oh, that's bad. And then there's also this fever that wiped through their population periodically. And if you get infected and get all this like black, I'm not explaining this really well. If you haven't noticed yet, my brain is not working today. This is
pretty straightforward. I think you're on track. The setting is like Middle Ages, but a little bit further on. Like not quite. I imagine 16th, 7th century-ish.
Yeah, Outlander, or maybe like before Outlander time frame.
1700s. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, medievally, but not gross medievally.
Like they have access to toilets.
Yeah. That's like the real divider. Yeah. So there's a fever and there's infected children, and you either survive or you don't. That didn't make any coherent sense either.
There's like a magical wood, right? Like a forest that you can't go into. Isn't that how they get the plague thing?
I think so, but I think you also can get just like catch the fever, and then you become like the infected, which is people that they immediately put to death because you have magic powers.
Oh, that's right, because the magic becomes like out of control or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so our main heroine is hiding. So she at like 7 or 8 caught the fever, was infected, but her father kind of hid her away, even though that's like against the law. And so she has magic powers basically, but she has to hide them because she will be put to death if anyone finds out. And in order to get rid of this like sickness and the infection and all of this like mist that's basically enveloping their whole town and country and kingdom, they have to like put together a whole deck of cards out of these like magic cards, but everyone is super like aggressively keeps them close hold.
Like each of the noble families has their own card, and they're kind of similar to tarot cards. Each has like a different figure or property, right, to them. Okay.
Yeah. And they kind of turn into like dowry items. Like if you're a well-placed royal and you marry into another family, they might give you a card as part of the dowry. But they're like super close held. But if you put all 12 of them together or 10 of them together, there's a way that you can get rid of the, infection or whatever, but one of the cards is missing. And so the king has been on this quest or voyage to find the last card and make a whole deck, except it's like missing forever. But then you also have the heroine who teams up with this like ragtag, group of royals disguised as rebels, basically.
Yeah.
Or other way around.
It's kind of like a bunch of rich kids playing Robin Hood.
Yeah, but they are also rich.
Yeah. It's weird.
And so they're like stealing people's cards that they don't have in order to make a full deck so they can get rid of it. And it's because one of their siblings also has the blood infection and they're like, well, you need to save his life because he's degenerating. But yeah, and it has all the like really good spooky vibes that you'd want like right around this time frame. It's super easy to read, and I don't know. It just kind of gives you like witchy vibes.
I like this monster she is like hosting in her body through this card is a very intriguing character.
Yeah.
Probably the most standout character in the group. And I really like the interaction between those two. There are certain aspects of this book that I did not enjoy as much that kind of made it
Mid.
Yeah. Mid is the best word to describe this book for me because I think the idea is really good. It's very unique. The execution is decent.
Yeah.
But it kind of falls a little flat.
I could see that. The romance is a little kind of like stereotypical. Yeah. But the monster's character, I think, will have kind of a resurgence in the second book. So the second book comes out, I think, in October 23rd or something like that. And I don't want to spoil it, but he will have a very large role to play in the second book.
Yeah.
Yeah. But his character's fun because you would kind of think that it could be taken in the perspective that he's like the love interest almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
We've read enough.
Okay, so let me be really honest on this one. I was really hoping
I was too.
that the monster was going to be the love interest, and when he wasn't,
Yeah. I was like
this took away because the synopsis. If you read the synopsis of this book, you think you know how it's going to play out because we've read it so many times. So maybe good on the author for like flipping the script a little bit.
Yeah.
I still wanted I wanted the monster to win.
I want a monster romance. Right? Yeah, because he's very protective throughout it, but in a kind of cynical, I don't really like you. You're just a silly little girl. But then as soon as she needs help, it's like, let me help you. We love that.
It's so cute. It is so very cute on like their relationship. So that's why I think the romance angle, which is not super pronounced, and it's very much like kind of resolved. I think at the 2/3 mark of this book, where like they're together, like, oh, I like you too. I guess we're together. Let's fight together.
Yeah.
And ever since Rob was commenting on Twilight about like the lack of uncertainty, the lack of uncertainty between two love interests in a story.
Yeah.
I always look for uncertainty now in the books. And there was none of that.
Nope,
right?
Nope. Because even you get sort of at the end this, not twist, but, an additional conflict is sort of inserted or sort of comes to light.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've just remembered how it ends.
Yeah. But even that kind of doesn't add any uncertainty into the relationship necessarily.
There's no like pizzazz.
Yeah, there's no question of will they, won't they. And we do have like the fake dating trope, which I love, but it's fake dating, but they obviously already like each other.
Yeah.
I need a little bit of actual fakeness first.
I think this is a story that would probably translate really well to the screen.
I could see that.
Because I think a lot of the tropes, techniques that appear in this book kind of fall flat for a reader, but like a viewing audience might enjoy it more.
Yeah.
The same way like a movie doesn't translate well, but maybe reads better.
Mm-hmm.
Can you think of any like books to movies where the movie sucked, obviously, and the
I was just talking about this. Ender's Game.
I never watched that.
Oh man. Okay, so the book, did you read the book?
No.
Oh, okay. It was like a weird sci-fi one-off for me, and the author is a total fuckhead, but the books are decent. There's this crazy twist at the end where it's this little kid and he thinks he's playing a game, and he makes this kind of crazy decision to totally wipe out the alien population, but it turns out it wasn't a simulation. He was actually doing it. And it's this like crazy, I just spoiled it, but it's also came out like 60 years ago.
Yeah.
But it's this crazy like defining moment in the book, and you are just absolutely fucking like awestruck. It's super sad. He's like really fucked up about what he did, but then in the movie, like that moment isn't played up enough, and you don't feel his emotions about feeling like compassion for the enemy forces or whatever. And so it's really just like because I was watching it with my parents whenever it first came out, like a long time ago. And the moment came out and I like whipped my head around and I was, did you see? Like, oh my God, that's crazy, right? And they're just like, I don't really get it. So that was a distinct moment that did not translate well on the screen. Because you can't like, emotions are harder to convey, I think, on the screen sometimes.
Yeah.
Like inner monologue.
That's true.
Yeah.
So
that's one specifically that like I was really irritated was not better.
There was one, so A Wrinkle in Time by Madeline L'Engle. Did you ever read that?
No, I think I saw the ads for the TV
for the
show.
Disney made a movie. And it flopped real hard. But so that was one of the first books that got me into reading as a kid.
Really?
Yeah, it was given to me as a Christmas present. And I remember like I think I was 10 or 11, and I read it, and I remember it's like the first book I stayed up all night to read. So highly recommend if you have kids and they're like in that age range. A Wrinkle in Time is amazing. But Disney made a movie of it like 6 or 7 years ago, and I just flat out refused to see it.
You're like, nope.
I have too much emotion invested in that novel to like waste it on a movie.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Artemis Fowl was like that for me. Did you ever read that story?
I think that was just past.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, just past my reading
because it was like
time.
new when I was in that like young reader time frame. But I think they made like a movie that was an equal flop.
Oh,
and it's like it's such good like base content. Like just make a movie version of this book. Like don't change anything.
Well, and now that we have Netflix, though, Netflix seems to know what they're doing between like The Witcher and Shadow and Bone and all of that.
Honestly, yeah. One Dark Window, though.
What? Okay, so because this is such a unique idea with the tarot cards, like it's gonna be hard. I think it's gonna be hard to find similar book.
Yes and no. So when I was reading it, I was getting the wildest fucking like vibe check that was almost identical to Uprooted by Naomi Novik.
Oh, I could kind of like atmosphere.
Yeah. It has the kind of like spooky undertones, but like fantasy 100%. The mist even is very similar, and you have like the haunted wood, and you have the like super freaky, mystical other entity that's changing things. Yeah. Uprooted is one of my favorite books. Like if you were kind of okay with One Dark Window, you will probably love Uprooted.
I would put Uprooted way above. Yeah.
It's like a better version of the book almost. And there's uncertainty in the relationship, so it kind of adds the pizzazz of romance. I also thought, so this might be a little bit crazy, but stick with me, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. What?
I know. It is, I know.
I feel like that's one that you would eat up. You would like gobble it. Like, this is some good shit.
I've looked at it so many times, and I know I should read it. It's, when you get a recommendation, and you're like, I know this person is recommending it because they know me and they know I'll like it, but I don't want to read it. Like like you avoid every recommendation given to you and find the weird random shit that no one has ever heard of before. You're like, oh, I read this book.
Yep. I think you had one for me that I like. It was a big one too that I just gobbled up, and I don't remember which one it is. But there was one that you were like, just read this book. And I'm like, no, I don't want to.
But I feel like everyone is like that with whether it's a recommended show or a recommended book. It's like you like internally dig in your heels. You're like, I don't want your recommendation.
Yeah. But The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue is not like a It's like a weird, I don't know. It's fantasy, obviously, but it, follows the life of a girl who's kind of makes a deal with death, and then he kind of like haunts her throughout her life as she's like basically forced to be immortal, and she's like, "Fuck this! Like I am done at like 200 years."
Doesn't
like,
have a sorry.
No, yeah.
Doesn't have a questionably sad ending.
Yes.
That's probably why I haven't read it.
That's fair.
I looked it up and I'm like, I don't like that.
I felt satisfied with the ending, but it was like a little bit like, yeah. The relationship between Addie and Death is, I think, super similar to the one between the main heroine and the monster in her head. It's kind of the similar, like, paternal but not protective, but kind of a dickhead. That vibe is similar. So if you wanted something a little bit more modern, I would say.
Also, I mean, it strikes me as a little bit more mature. Like One Dark Window is like sits in New A, but it's also kind of got a feeling of being for a more mature audience.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I put Crown Duel on here just because some of the intrigue is super similar, like the political intrigue.
Yeah, actually, I could see that too.
Yeah. So if you liked that aspect of Crown Duel, like Shivraeth and his parents, like, plotting this coup or whatever, I think you'd like the political parts of One Dark Window because it's almost identical. Like
there's a reason Crown Duel is like a foundational book in the genre. Everything comes back to it.
So those are the 3 books. This got me out of a reading slump, and so I will give it that credit. Like I give it 5 stars. I think because of the reading slump thing and because it's something that I hadn't seen done a lot, like the kind of spooky vibes that actually felt spooky. Because there's some books that kind of like promote themselves as like a scary, dark, and you're
haunting
like,
Adeline.
Yeah, it's like, this is not dark. This is just gross. But this one was actually kind of spooky. It was like perfect for, early October.
Intro to fall.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it. One Dark Window, Rachel Gillig. If you want a better one, though, Uprooted by Naomi Novik.
Awesome. Well, from Katie's shelf to yours.
We'll see you on the next page. Hi, readers. If you'd like to help us pick our next book, send us a message on Instagram.
Or if you'd like to just listen, we post new episodes every Monday and Wednesday on Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. Thanks for listening.
Bussin'.